Welcome to Psychic Insights, where pop culture meets higher consciousness and the tea is always a little bit mystical. I'm Robin Richardson, your psychic girlfriend, and around here we don't just watch the drama unfold, we read the energy behind it, whether it's celebrity scandals, reality TV, chaos, or true crime with a twist. I'm tuning in to bring you the intuitive scoop the headlines miss. So buckle up, because your aura's about to get entertained. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin Richardson. This is Psychic Insights. And today we need to talk about something bigger than legal headlines. We're diving straight into the energetic architecture of a case that has completely captured our attention, the state of Arizona versus Laura Owens. Now, if you listen to episode 15 of Stephanie Young's Love Trap podcast, love it, you know we just witnessed a massive courtroom pivot. Clayton Eckert and Greg Gillespie both showed up at the Maricopa County Superior Courthouse. And they were expecting a definitive answer on a massive plea deal. But instead, the deadline was extended again. And the defense is claiming that they are drowning in multiple terabytes of digital forensic data. Now, look, most true crime channels are going to give you a play-by-play of procedural delays. They'll talk about court filings and continuances, but you know, what we do around here is we look at patterns and we read the energy of the story itself. And so I sat down with my Lenormand cards because, you know, I love them, and I asked a simple question. What is actually happening beneath the surface of this legal standstill? And before I get into that, I want to say to you, remember, this is not legal advice. I don't know any of that stuff. This is information based on what's publicly available and my spidey senses, my Lenormand cards, for entertainment purposes only. Okay. And remember to like, subscribe, follow, do all that stuff. And if you choose to comment, which I hope you do, make sure it's kind. Okay, so let's go back to the question. What is actually happening beneath the surface of this legal standstill? And what came through wasn't just a reading of a single court case. It was a perfect 7-stage blueprint of human behavior under intense scrutiny. I call it the pattern wheel. So let's talk about it. All right. So the first thing that I noticed is pressure. And not just one person, because we had, let's see, what we have here, the cards that I pulled were bouquet, cross, and whip. Now, if you've been following along and you love the Lenormand like me, you know that this feels like pressure. Okay, at first, with the bouquet, I thought, oh, this is interesting. Then I saw the cross and then the whip. Okay. All right. So this isn't pressure just on one person. This is pressure on everyone. And this is the judge, the court, Clayton, the families, the victims, the perpetrators, all of them. Okay. Clayton is exhausted. Greg Gillespie is exhausted and is asking to know when this cycle, which is our whip, will the cycle never end? And the prosecutor is standing over a mountain of data, right? And the defense is scrambling for time. So when we look at this bouquet, cross, and whip, the bouquet is the face we put on for the whole world. It's everyone trying to maintain legal decorum and respect inside that courtroom. But then we have the cross. And the cross tells us the structural burden has become incredibly heavy for everyone involved. And then we have the whip. And the whip represents repetition, conflict, a cycle that keeps hitting the same wall over and over again. This isn't just a legal delay, this is a pressure cooker. But remember, pressure isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes pressure is exactly what forces the truth to finally crack open. All right, what do you guys think? All right, and that brings us to the next part of our stage, of our wheel, and it's called, I'm calling it hidden layers. Let me make sure I find my cards. Oh, right. Right in front of me. Okay. So there was incredible momentum in the podcast where Clayton describes making direct eye contact with Laura in the court. He said he stared at her for a solid 20 seconds. That's a long-ass time. And for the first time, she looked right back at him. He mentioned seeing a shift in her eyes, a sadness, a sense of defeat, like the reality of prison exposure is finally settling in. And to look at that energy of that specific moment, we have child, mice, and book. Okay? And the child definitely represents vulnerability, a raw, exposed human ego beneath a defensive armor. The mice represents a gnawing, anxiety, internal gnawing away of control and deep stress. This is like chipping away slowly. Okay? We had talked about this in another episode, that the weight is being felt in this astrological period, by the way. All right. Oh, and then we have the book. And the book represents unread chapters. I call it my secrets revealed. So these are things that are unknown. Okay? It reminds us that there are massive emotional and psychological layers to this story, layers that the public record hasn't even touched yet. And these cards are telling me that behind the legal maneuvers, the internal landscape is fractured. So I think Clayton, I feel like Clayton's really intuitive, so I feel like he connected with that energy before she put her wall back up. All right, then we have the stage 3, the wheel of resistance. Okay, when we have resistance, we were hearing in her defense attorney asking for more time because of the voluminous digital evidence. And Clayton spoke up directly to the judge, passionately about pointing out that this feels like an 11th hour delay tactic in a 3-year saga. Remember our whip? Repeated tactic, right? Repeated. And when I asked about this energy, the cards responded with mountain, dog, and tower. And the mountain is the ultimate symbol of a roadblock. Okay? Something that refuses to move. Wonder who that is. And we have the dog. And the dog asks a really powerful question here. What are we remaining loyal to? Our narratives, perhaps? And sometimes as human beings, we remain stubbornly loyal to old habits, to old lies, or perhaps an identity we refuse to let go of, even when it's actively destroying us. But what sits right next to it is the tower. And that is the end of that resistance. That's the tower. It's the legal system. Okay? Authority, boundaries, and inevitable consequences. The resistance can be as big as a mountain, but the tower always wins in the end. Always wins in the end. Okay? So reality has officially entered the chat. Or the villa. Whichever for you like. All right. And then we have transparency. This is our next section of the wheel. Okay? And it's called transparency. And this is where we have to look at a massive piece of the story that Stephanie Young brought up. The bankruptcy proceedings for Laura's parents, Jan and Ronn Owens. Now, on the surface, some people might think that a bankruptcy hearing feels like an entirely different episode, but energetically, it's completely tied to the core pattern of this family. What happened in that courtroom? The bankruptcy judge kept coming back to one single demand: transparency. Transparency. All right, and the cards we have here are Lily. Lily and Sun and Key. So actually, it's in this order. Lily, Key, and Sun. Okay. So the judge is asking, show me the documents. Show me the records. Show me exactly where the money went. Now, when family systems get tangled up in secrecy and legal maneuvers, the universe eventually demands an accounting. And that's the energy that's here in these cards. The Lily, the Key, and the Sun. The Lily calls for high moral ground. Virtue, absolute truth. And the Key means, pay attention. This is a turning point. This is unlocking the door where things unlock, right? And the Sun? Well, the sun bleaches out shadows, and it shines a binding light, a blinding light, into dark hidden corners. So whether it's a high-profile criminal case or a family financial filing, the symbolic language of these cards are echoing the exact words in the courtroom. Nothing stays hidden forever. The energetic requirement of this exact moment for the entire Owens family is complete transparency, and it's happening. The universe is enforcing it in big terabyte chunks. Okay, so then we have the next part of our wheel, which is choices. Love choices. We heard Commissioner Simon read out a terrifying reality of what Laura faces if she rejects the plea and loses a trial. Decades of potential prison time hanging in the balance. Even if that's the worst case scenario, hearing it read out loud changes the energy in the room. And the cards reflect this as well. I picked path, letter, and star. And so what we've got here is every legal filing is the letter. Every document tells a piece of the story. The path is all about definitive choices. A choice must be made, right? One way or the other. The road splits here. And the star, well, the star represents hope, direction, and long-term destiny. So every decision made in that courtroom right now isn't just a legal strategy. It's a choice that permanently alters the trajectory of multiple lives. I think we should have some dramatic music, shouldn't we? Okay. The next is movement, which I like. This is where the stalemate breaks. So let's see. We've got some heavy cards here too. Right now in the public, it feels like nothing is happening, which is what Stephanie mentions, because the plea deal was, because the plea deal was extended, but energetically, a massive transition is already underway. And I pulled 2 card sets for this. I pulled Coffin, House, and Moon. And then I'll get to the second part. The Coffin, heavy-duty stuff, right? Signifies death of an old cycle. So remember, in the beginning of this episode, we had the whip, which is also cycles, right? So this represents the death of it. The house is the foundation. Interestingly enough, the bankruptcy is tied to a foreclosure. So we've got the foreclosure of an actual house, right? But this is also a foundation. And the moon is our deepest emotional patterns. And the current emotional foundation of this case is coming to a close. One chapter is completely dying out. Then I looked at Rider, Ring, and Stork. The Rider brings news and sudden movement, sudden momentum. The Ring will be contracts, agreements, legal bindings, like a plea or a trial order. And the Stork is the ultimate card of delivery, change, and migration. So something is moving. So fear not, everyone. All right. That brings us to the final stage of our wheel, which is, as you might guess, transformation. And with that, we have the cards anchor, birds, and sight. And the anchor shows how deeply rooted this story has been. We've been talking about it, analyzing it, and living it for years. The birds represent massive public conversation. All of us on YouTube, podcast communities, watching, talking, and learning together. And interestingly enough, the public eye was brought to, the attention was brought to the public by Laura herself. Then comes the scythe. The scythe is a sudden, sharp, clean cut. And this tells us that when resolution comes, it will happen fast. The old anchor will be cut away, and the truth will land with precision. So you see, that's why this case has captivated so many people. On the surface, it's a true crime story about 14 felonies, fake pregnancies, and multiple victims, and courtroom audio. But underneath, it's a mirror for something much more. There are 7 themes that just don't belong to Clayton, Greg, or Laura. They belong to all of us, and every single one of us has felt that intense pressure. We've all hidden layers we are afraid to look at, and we've all resisted change because staying in the old painful cycle felt safer than facing the unknown. We've all been asked of us in life to step into absolute transparency, to make hard choices, and to trust the movement even when everything feels completely stagnant. This isn't just a pattern of a legal case, this is a pattern of human transformation, and I am so happy that you were sitting here for it today. Let me know in the comments which part of the wheel resonated with your own life. I read your comments and I appreciate them so much, and I love hearing your thoughts. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay close, because a lot of fun things are starting to happen with me and this channel. And again, I appreciate all your support, your love, and your kindness. I'm Robin Richardson, your psychic girlfriend, and I'll see you in the next one.